So the law's a bit unclear, but my recommendation is make sure that all of the certificates that you hold, electric certificates, which are not law, but they are, if you have one, make sure it's in date. We recently, very recently, at one of our landlords' properties had a fire. It's one of those things that you never want to come to work to hear. There was a fire in a house where a lady and her daughter lived, and the fire was caused by the consumer unit in the garage. And the first thing the insurers, the fire brigade, the police, everybody that was involved asked for was evidence that those electrics were safe. Thankfully, because he rents through us and we don't accept properties that don't have electric certificates, he had got an electric certificate that showed 2 years prior that actually that consumer unit was new. Now who's under investigation? The electrician. They had forensics and everybody in there because a consumer unit should not have failed and caused a fire within a property if it had been installed 2 years ago. But the landlord, the point I'm making here, is covered. Now, if that landlord did not have an electric certificate, I can promise you now it is probably 90% likely his insurance wouldn't have paid out because he wouldn't have had any evidence to show that the electrics within that property were safe at the start of the tenancy. So if anybody asks me, is electric certificates law? My answer is yes. Under the Consumer Protection Act 1987, Section 39 and Section 19, you have an onus to ensure that that property is safe when letting it out to tenants and that no injury, harm, death comes to pets, animals, visitors or anything. Without evidence that the electrics were safe, how can you do that?
What happens if your tenant puts some electrical equipment in which you don't know about?
If you've got an electric certificate, then that's absolutely fine because you can prove it was safe when you gave it to them and that it's tenants' fault. And one of the other things I say to people is, let's look at Grenfell, such a sad, sad, sad thing to occur from an electrical fridge. Those people lost their lives because of an electrical fridge and dodgy cladding, if we're honest. But that's where it stemmed from. As landlords, let's be diligent and for the sake, again, have, for a menial cost, and I know it's a menial cost, but I'm loading all the cost on you, but, you know, for you to be able to sleep at night, just ensure the safety of your tenants are considered. Okay? Yes?
Sorry, when you're saying about the electrical certificate, is that referring to the PAT testing or the full
No,
electrical?
a full, yeah. Because if you'd had PAT testing, you see, you wouldn't have been able to prove that the consumer unit at the start of tenancy was safe. It's all about being able to document and evidence the electrics were in safe condition at the start of tenancy.
And with that not being a legal requirement, how often would you recommend having that?
Okay, so we do two things under our management. We either do a visual annual certificate where it's a lot less in-depth. So what the electrician does is checks the obvious, the consumer unit, the mains bonding, the plugs, he puts his things in and tests them and there's no live wires. And that's an annual certificate, but it's at a much lower cost. Or there's an alternative to have a 5-year periodic that will cover you for 5 years. Electric safety is coming our way, guys. The regulations are coming our way, without a doubt. That is coming in. It's under the Housing and Planning Act 2016. It will be mandatory. It will be law. We just don't know when. Again, be ahead of the game and just protect yourself, not just because it's coming, but because of the reasons I've just said to you, to protect yourself and your tenants.